This is the Coach's Wife Life podcast. I'm Kristen Eargle, your host, a former TV sports reporter and fellow college football coach's wife. I'll go one-on-one with the strong women who are the backbone of college athletics and athletics of all levels. And now, Coach's Wife Life.
This podcast is brought to you by Ruler of Hope. Ruler of Hope is a nonprofit that supports medically fragile children. If you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation, you can use Venmo at Ruler-Hope or online at rulerofhope.org.
Hey there, I'm Kristen Eargle, and we have an exciting podcast ahead. But first, I want to talk about something we all know way too much about: moving. Just the thought of that can bring an unsettling emotion. Well, I found a team that can take that load off your plate. It's D1 Relocation. This group can do it all. They can organize your move, coordinate with a moving company, and a trusted real estate agent. They can actually vet key household partners such as schools, insurance agents, physicians in the area. They can even help set up your Wi-Fi and water. It's incredible. So I've come to know this team, which is actually founded by a coach's wife. I think you should check it out. Whether you're looking to move now or in the future, it's d1relocation.com. Now on to our awesome podcast. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to bring you my next guest, Julie Simpson, coming to you from Martin, Tennessee. Her husband is the head coach, Jason Simpson, at Tennessee Martin, UT Martin. Julie, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, so you are in the 20th season of being a head coach's wife. Talk about the wisdom we could gather from you right now. I hope you have plenty of time because I have a billion questions for you. This is going to be so fun. Your husband it's been quite impressive here. OVC Championships in 06, 21, 22, 23, 24. Been a coach of the year twice. Sergeant York Trophy, like too many times to count. Like maybe 10. FCS Award Eddie Robinson, Coach of the Year finalist, 4 years, Coach of the Year before. Hello. Incredible stuff that you've built there at UT Martin. When you think about it, and it's obviously a career still unfolding, like what goes through your head?
Gosh, I just think how blessed we are. Just the fact I remember when he took this job, I remember, just looking at him and saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And he was like, I've prayed about it. I know this is where the Lord's leading us and this will be the next step. And of course, like all coaches' wives, we had moved we were on a 3-year cycle. It was like every 3 to 3.5 years. So I said, okay, well, that's great. There's not a lot there. It's a small town. So I'm like, but hey, if that's where the Lord's leading us, let's go. And so, yeah, I look back now and go, wow, that was 20 years ago. And I'm even more thankful now for this job than I was then. So.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, you're the mom of 3, Ty, Emma, and Graham. And Ty right now, as we record, is a Heisman Trophy candidate. He is the quarterback for the University of Alabama Crimson Tide. I have to ask you, what is your cell phone like on game day? Because I'm just passing by the TV on Saturday and your face is on it about every 5 minutes. Did you ever see this happening? First of all, what's your cell phone like?
It's I had 162 messages by halftime, which was crazy. I don't have my phone with me except when my husband's team is playing. And so last week it happened that during warm-ups of the Bama game, I was able to watch the first half of his game. So I had my phone. Once the Bama game started, I put my phone away, and then my daughter keeps up with it for me. And she said, "Mom, my brother is texting her and said, Uncle Jason said you need to smile." And I said, "What?" And she said, "Apparently we're on the TV." And I said, "Oh." So I got my phone out and I looked at 162 messages and I went, okay. And I said, well, you need to tell him that until we score and can convert this third down, I'm not smiling. So he's just going to have to get over it.
Oh my goodness. That's incredible. So now you're sitting there like picking out your clothes for game day. Does it feel like you're having to do an OOTD just to go to the game?
think she then quickly told me my fit's going to have to be a little bit better if I'm going to be on the TV. So I said, at least, at least I had my hair done. I didn't have any gray hair showing today.
Right. It looked great. It looked great, by the way. Okay. When did the success for him really start rolling in? At what point did you really see, hey, obviously as coaches' kids, our kids are around it. They're privy to some stuff, but wow, I have a lot to talk about with coaches' kids, and I want to get your advice on all this. But when did you know that Ty was going to be pretty special?
So, oddly enough, I remember I was pregnant with my youngest one, and Jason called. It was in the spring. I was very pregnant, and close, like literally a few weeks out from having my third one. And Jason called and said, we had a youth league game. Ty was playing I think maybe machine pitch. He said, you need to go out and warm Ty up. And he said, I'm not going to get home in time. You need to warm him up before we head over to the park, and everything in Martin's really close. So it's easy to get there. And I said, okay, no problem. I go out in the backyard and I'm throwing baseball with him. And I said, after, I don't know, 5 or 6 throws, I said, that's it. I told him, I kept saying, quit throwing it so hard. I cannot catch this ball. And he was like, I'm not throwing it hard, Mom, like any 6-year-old would do. And so when Jason got home, he's like, did you warm him up? I said, a little bit. I can't throw with him anymore. Not if he's going to throw like that. Well, he said, Jules, are you kidding me? He is 6 years old. I can't believe you couldn't catch his ball. I'm like, I'm just telling you, it was too hard. And he laughed at me, and I was like, that's bizarre for a kid to throw it that hard. And he really wasn't trying, but I just kind of blew it off. And then fast forward a few years, and he had a coach here. He's been really good about hiring people that they may have lost their job somewhere, and he knows what a great coach they are. So come and your second life starts at UT Martin. We've done that a lot. And he had a friend here that had left. I think he'd been at Southern Miss, and time may have been, I don't know, 11, 12. And he stopped me after practice and said, your kid is special. And I was like, he's not special. He was like, no, I've not seen a 12-year-old throw a ball like that. And it was, I guess we were used to it. Yeah. Our kids have grown up on the field. That was one thing Jason always said when he was, when he got this job as a head coach. He was like, our kids will always be welcome at practice. Our coaches' kids, everybody will always, that's where you see your dad, And so my kids have grown up on the field, in the locker room, Emma included, not as much in the locker room, but on the field. And so they were always at practice. And so seeing him throw, he's just always done that. He's always jumped in there and thrown with the quarterbacks and done drills. But when that coach said that to me, I was like, let me just watch. Maybe he is, he's going into middle school. Maybe I need to pay attention a little bit more. And I thought, I guess most kids can't throw it 50 yards.
No, I can't.
So,
that's incredible. I want to unpack more about this and the advice you can give me raising some athletes. But first, let's talk about you, Julie. Where did you grow up, and did you ever envision this life that you live right now as a coach's wife?
No. I grew up in Nashville, born and bred there. All my family's still there. Met Jason in college, and just never dreamed I would live anywhere but Nashville. Met a football coach, or an aspiring football coach, and was like, well, this is great. You can just get a job at Vanderbilt or NTSU or somewhere, and we'll just live right here. Had no idea how it worked. That was not the Lord's plan. We were married, had jobs in Alabama at Jacksonville State. And, I thought, okay, great. We'll just start our life here. It's not that far. I can drive. Of course, first year of marriage with all of its struggles, and obviously in the coaching world, all kinds of struggles. But it's hard learning to be married, living away from home, everything, lots of challenges along the way. And, we lost our first job, our first year of marriage. So it was a very trying year, but we have survived by the grace of God. We have survived. have been
Wow.
so blessed. So
When you look at the last 20 years plus, and you think about some of the biggest things that popped up in terms of adversity, what would you say some of the toughest adversity you faced, and what did you rely on to get through those moments?
that first year was hard. Just like when anybody gets married. My dad had a heart attack our first year of marriage. Jason lost a job. Our first fired. There's two kinds of coaches: the kind that's been hired and the kind that's been fired. You're going to be one of both. So we got the firing part really quick. That was really hard. I had already moved away from home, didn't know anybody. That was really hard. And then he got a job in Texas and moved, and was 14 hours away and left me in a town where I knew nobody and felt, completely isolated. And I remember thinking, what have I done? What have I done? And I was like, God, I knew this was the person you told me to marry. What is happening? And, that's when I think the devil tries to work the hardest. So, and just by the power of prayer and the grace of God, I just turn everything over to him. And it's like, you tell me what I'm supposed to do. And if you're willing to listen, he will tell you for sure.
How do you stay grounded and steady through all this, from the times then and through the times now of the pressures of being an SEC quarterback's mom? That has come with pressure that no one can really talk about. I always ask, is it harder to be a coach's wife or a player's mom? What would you say?
Stands, a player's mom. A player's mom. It's a lot harder to be the player's mom. It's hard to be the coach's wife, but man, it's worse when it's your baby out there. That's been really hard, and prayer and an amazing support system that is praying for you also. There's no way. I don't know how people that don't have faith and can rely on just the love of Christ that he has for you can even make it. I just don't know. I don't. That's the only way I make it. I know that he loves me more than any love I can feel here. So that comfort and knowing that he's in control is what saves me.
And for the days that I don't dig in and I don't have my quiet time, I am as up and down as any roller coaster out there. I don't know if you feel that way.
A mess. And if it's one of those days and I get to the end of the day, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a moment. And I know why. I am so sorry, Lord, because I haven't given you your moment.
Yes.
And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm the first one to go, I'm a completely different person unless I've had the presence of God in my life. Because if not, you're just a ship or a boat that's just trying to survive in the seas. It's just up and down. And to me, being in athletics, whether you're a coach's wife or a player's mom or whoever you may be, you feel these waves really strongly. There's so much. Instead of just kind of going to a different type of job where you're sort of doing the same thing, there's so much with the media pressure that comes with all of this. I want you to take me to your middle school days with Ty, and as you navigate things now with your other children. Just speak into my life and some of the others out there listening right now. To me, and we talked about it offline before we started recording, which is the pressures that coaches' kids feel. Talk to the mom out there. How do you navigate some of these situations?
Yeah, it's those were probably rank up there as some of the hardest times, because they, by the time they get to middle school, they're starting to figure out their positions. Obviously, they're not, playing all 9 positions on the softball or baseball field. They're pretty narrowed down to which ones they excel at. And, we were fortunate enough to be here. I mean, this is the only home Ty knows. We moved here, took this job when he was 3. My middle one we moved into our house on her first birthday. I mean, this is all they know, which is insane for a coach's life. That's just unheard of. And we know how blessed we are with that. But we still had the problems that different problems than other ones. We weren't moving into the town that already had an established quarterback where you had to have a battle, or anything like that. We were here, but, we still had the, you're not that good, or I'm just as, or, mine's just as good at that position, and maybe they are, I don't really know. We still have to battle. And, he faced some situations where he was like, I don't understand, but it all worked out. And again, we had great support systems, and the few naysayers that did not believe he was good enough to play, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. And maybe there were days when he wasn't good enough, but I think he was. So, and hopefully the coach didn't just put him there because of who his dad was, which was that's always something that they deal with too. So, it's tough on a coach's kid. It's tougher than people realize.
It is. There's
Yeah.
also a high level of pressure to perform. I think there's an expectation, especially if your child is playing football. Well, haven't your dad taught you this
Yes.
at nighttime or whatever? Like sometimes you're just literally doing homework or whatever. You're not sitting there 4 hours a night getting a special session. There's stuff to be done. I feel like there's a high level of pressure to perform as a coach's kid. Did he feel that? And does he still feel that? And how do you walk him through some of this?
I felt like he had to, perform even more just to prove to people that he was, worthy of the position he was playing, from middle school on. And I hated that for him, but that's okay. That's life. That's how it works. But, and I don't know that I necessarily have felt that as much in college because, they recruited him and wouldn't have recruited him if he wasn't good enough. But he, he put the pressure on himself. It's like, I should know this. I've been watching tape, with my dad since I was, 6 years old. So I should know. So he was probably harder on himself, than anybody else, but that's okay too. That's
Do you send a little text and encouraging words? Do you have a group chat going with dad? Like, how does this work for you?
Oh, yes. We have a family group that is enjoyable. It keeps everybody humble. I'll say that.
I love that you have dogs.
I have dogs. I actually am going to move, so when you don't let me make you sick. So I actually have 2 dogs, but we have adopted a 3rd dog, which is Ty's, because Coach Saban practiced in the afternoon, which was wonderful, and was wonderful for a dog. Dogs are cheaper than therapy. And dogs show you love all the time. And so Ty gets a dog. He's wonderful. And he goes to doggy daycare. And it was just a great situation because we got to come home and have love every day when mom wasn't there. And then we had a coaching change, and Coach DeBoer practices in the morning. So doggy daycare is not open in the morning. And so the dog comes to mom's daycare and is here for a while. So
What kind of dog is this?
He is a mini golden doodle, and he is precious, but he is still a puppy. So we have our moments.
What's his name?
His name is Rip.
Rip.
I was on a Yellowstone kick when he got him. So, so Rip does live up to his name and likes to shred everything. We're learning that too. So by the time he gets him back, he's going to be fully trained, and I'm going to have a big bill for him.
Okay, so everyone around you, Julie, is thriving professionally.
Well, let's hope. I would like to hope so.
Okay, so what are you doing behind the scenes that is enabling your family to
try
flourish?
to support just whatever they need, whatever I see they need, I try and make it happen, which is, what any mom would do.
Well, I think you go above and beyond. I hear a lot. There's someone who's been on your staff before and speaks so highly, Becca. She's now with me at UTEP, but just talks about your compassion and the way you serve others. And what are some of those things that you think you've done to really help some of this in your family?
Well, let's see. I don't know. I just live by the rule. You like to, treat other people like you'd want to be treated, and love people like Jesus would. So, and all these young coaches' wives that come in, and I remember being that young wife, and you don't know anybody, and you're in a new town, and just like with Becca, she's one that just sticks because you just love her so much. And so when she got ready to move, I said, honey, you're going to have so much fun. Go enjoy it. Make the best memories. Go hike, go see all the things, because you're not going to be there long.
Mm-hmm.
And, just be there to support, just like I do with my family and coaches and players. Sometimes they all need a mama. And I just try to be a mom to everybody.
Okay, so take us inside. Some of us may never get to experience what you're experiencing right now. And obviously, because Coach Saban did retire. So you had the rare opportunity of your son being a 5-star recruit and being recruited by Nick Saban. We've all hosted recruits for 20 years. Well, some of us, was this 23 years or something in the business? But to go on one like that, tell me what that was like.
Oh, it's so fun. It was cool. It was to be on the other side recruiting. That was fun. So yeah, like you said, we've all hosted. We've all, had recruits in our homes, and I love recruiting. I love to meet people. I love to know where you're from. Let me tell you about our town, because we love it here, and I love recruiting. And so we start the recruiting path with Ty, and I'll never forget. We were actually on a visit to Bama the year that LSU beat them at home. They had not lost at home, and I don't even remember how long. They hadn't lost a game in however long. And so and his dad was not with him. It was just me and Ty and maybe little brother. And so we're sitting there, and we come in at the half. Like they normally do. Any recruiting visit, we've all been there. You go out, you watch the game, and then at the half, they'll come inside and take a little break and go back out. So the first half, LSU had dominated, and it was. I knew what was probably going to happen. I knew they could come back, but I was like, they keep playing like this, Bama's not going to win this game. So we have our little host, and we're just talking, And I said, hey, honey, let me ask you a question. I said, she's telling me what we're going to do at the end of the game. And we're going to come back in here, and the coaches are going to come in, and Coach Saban will come in. And I said, okay. And I said, well, let me ask you this. And I said, do you have the same plan if you lose? And she just looked at me, and she said, what do you mean? And I said, I just am curious. And I said, I'm not saying you're going to lose this game. I said, however, I said, that was a really good first half, and it's 50-50 right now for me. And I said, what are you going to do if you lose? And she said, I've been here 3 years. I don't know. We've never lost at home. And I said, you know what? And she knew I was a coach's wife. And I always would tell them, you don't have to, don't put on any front for me, because I promise I'm used to this. You don't do anything extra. So I think they enjoyed recruiting us because we didn't retire a lot. And I said, I tell you what, why don't you go ask and just make sure? And I said, because I don't know if they have y'all prepared for if you lose. And she said, okay, that's a good idea. She went, and they had a little meeting. They are all like, wait, what? What do you mean? And I was like, they had a little meeting, and she finally comes back to get us, and we're going back out to watch the game. She was like, okay, well, they said if we lose, we're still going to come back in here, but the coaches probably won't. I said, no, they probably won't. And she said, but we'll still come back in here. We'll still get you to your car. And I said, okay, great. Well, they lost. I knew it was going to happen. And we come back in there, and she just looked at me, and she said, I can't believe we lost. And I don't know how you knew that, but thank goodness you did. And I said, yeah, well, I said, I'm sorry. I've been there a few times, but and the coaches still came in, and they weren't very happy, and we didn't make them talk. That was interesting. It's fun to be on the other side and just watch it. Yes. And I would nitpick and see different things that I was like, we need to do this better, because look how they did that. Or then I would go, oh, that's not good. We do that better. It was fun.
Oh, that's incredible. Like, that's an incredible story.
Funny.
She had never known what to handle because I'd never lost.
Even Coach Saban came in and talked to us. Even with that loss, he came in at the end of the game. I was very impressed.
Wow. What are they like? What's Miss Terry like? And what did they like when they want your son to come play for them?
So nice. They were so nice, so personable, very welcoming. I mean, we had Saturday night was at their house, and then Sunday morning on official visits, and which is, wonderful. That's so huge to open your house. And just like I talked to her about being a head coach's wife and just different things that she did and ways she looked at things. And she was so open and willing to talk to me about anything. I appreciated it so much. And he was just as personal, funny. When he did the home visit with Ty, he came in and, my husband's done tons of home visits. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have some food. I ordered out some, food from a local restaurant. And he came in and he plopped down at the bar and said, I am so happy to have warm food. He had been recruiting constant, and he said, I have not had warm food and other than a sandwich in 3 days. And he sat down and ate 2 plates full and then plopped down in the recliner and hung out for the next 2 hours. And it was like, and I think again, part of that was, they know how to do this. They've done this before, and I'm not going to put on any front. So he just kicked back. It was it was really fun.
That's amazing. Okay. And so now you had a coaching change and you have Coach DeBoer. And your son, and this happens because, as we move in as coaches and all this, has to build a relationship with them. And honestly, get buy-in on both sides and learn the system and build trust and all of that. How did you walk him through that?
Well, again, by the grace of God is so good. I actually was there when it happened. Ty was moving into a new place to live. And of course, that was in January. Our coaches are recruiting. So I had moved him in the year before by myself. I was there moving him again. And we had loaded up his truck, my car, and it had just pulled in. And he had a team meeting on that Tuesday, and they moved it, which was unusual. That never happened. I mean, Coach Saban was very regimented. And so they moved it, and we were like, okay, that's odd, but maybe he's not back. He had been in Florida. And so we were like, okay, well, let's finish on. And the next day we had moved our last, truckload in, and we unloaded my car, and Ty said, all right, I'm going to, take your car. I'm going to run over. We got team meeting. It shouldn't be too long. And, I said, I'll stay here, unload the rest of yours. No big deal. So he goes, and after, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, he just is a couple blocks from the building. I keep hearing my phone ding, and I was like, our family group message goes off constantly. And again, we keep each other humble. So I was like, just ignoring it. I was like, I'm busy, Well, it just continued and continued. And finally, I walked over and grabbed it because I thought, what is happening? And it's Ty, and he says, Saban just retired. Did you guys hear me? He just walked in. He's gone. And I was like, oh, I read it. And before I could even finish the multiple texts he'd sent, Jason started calling, and he was like, this is real. They've just released it on the TV, which was odd. Ty said, I should have known, because he never let reporters ever in a team meeting. And there was one that came in that day. And Jason called, and he said, you can't leave. And I said, oh, I'm not. He goes, no, you cannot come home until we have this figured out. Mm-hmm. And again, praise the Lord that he's allowed me to stay at home. So that night, I think there were 5 or 6 maybe there may have been more. I can't even remember. I just started cooking. I got his house somewhat together, and then his whole group of, friends and the ones that came in his recruiting class, it was like a death. They all just came in, and it was, they couldn't even talk. I just let them be. And thankfully I did know enough. I was like, you guys, class started the next day. I said, you guys can't go to class.
Sure.
And Jason was like, no, you're right. Tell them not to go. It's going to be a lot harder to transfer if they go to class. So I was like, none of you need to go to class. Everybody just wait. And if you're thinking at all about leaving, just don't start. And so they all pretty much sat. That was Wednesday. They got home Wednesday night. On Thursday, they all pretty much were like, well, what do we do? What do we do? So they all hung out and went over in each other's houses on Thursday. Mm. And then by Friday is when they brought DeBoer in. And the whole time we were just really prayerful with Ty about it. And he said, he had some calls. I was already looking at a couple places that there was one specific, that's where I'll go. And so I was already on the phone with the real estate agent going, okay, and we need somewhere to go and we got to get out of this lease. And he came in that Friday afternoon, and he hadn't really met DeBoer yet, but he was like, no, God wants me to stay. And just like his dad's done so many times before. And I was like, are you sure? And he was like, yeah, I've talked to Dad. God wants me to stay. This is where I'm supposed to be. And so sure enough, he stayed the course. And it's hard when it's somebody that hasn't recruited you. But they, slowly got to know each other and build their relationship. And he's so happy. And it's good to see. It's good to see. It's paid off for him.
You talked about his decision to stay, but then he had to sit behind another quarterback. And in your head, you know what your son's capable of. Like, we all see it, right? And then you're having to kind of wait your turn. How did you walk him through those days of stay in the course when there's no guarantee that he's going to earn the starting job? You know what he's capable of. The portal is wide open. I'm sure people are throwing money at it, but he stayed.
Yeah, it was not easy. It was not easy at all. Because like you said, you know what he's capable of. And, but at the same time, I say it wasn't easy, of course, because we want to see him out there, but look who was in front of him. He had Bryce Young, and then he had Jalen Milroe. I mean, that's two amazing athletes. And, it was just a constant prayerful and reminding him, look at what you can learn from them. They are phenomenal athletes, leaders. Look what you can learn from them, because God's timing is perfect timing. It's going to work out. He told you to stay there. He told you to go there to begin with. He was very confident of that. Then he told you to stay there. So he has a plan, and his timing is perfect. Let's just focus on that and focus on that. And, his dad said multiple times, when he would get really down about it, have you talked to the Lord? Where are you right now? And, it just, again, I don't know how people that don't have God do it. I just don't.
Going through the years that you are, and you're still raising your children now, what are the ages of your other kids?
Let's see. Hold on. Ty's 22, Emma's 20, Graham is 16.
Okay. And so you're in the thick of it still with your 16-year-old as well. What are some of the things that you're talking about with your kids? That perspective, obviously, have you talked to God today? Keep them grounded. What are some things that you've really tried to key in on in raising kids in this industry?
Constant conversation with God, reminding them, we have a saying, we're all Jesus blessed. You are blessed. You are blessed. So you take your blessing and you go bless others. Go be a blessing today. So that's what I say every day. Graham walks out the door, go be a blessing today. Unfortunately, my kids speak to me better on Snapchat than they do anything else. So I send a snap every morning, and I'm like, good morning. Have a wonderful day. Go be a blessing today. Remember how blessed you are, and just to keep their focus,
Serving others.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what have you done? And again, I've mentioned it before, but people talk about the culture of your program and with the wives. What are you intentionally doing to create that with the wives group?
Well, it's harder now because I'm not here on game days like I have been in the past. So since Ty's been at Bama, I've been, there on Saturdays, and which I hate. I hate to miss any Skyhawk anything, but I just always, Martin is a small town. It is a very small town. And so any coach's wife that would come in, it's usually culture shock for them. And so I would always try to meet them, show them around, at least, tell them what's here. No, there's not a lot here, but let me show you what is here, because you will be very blessed. And, the community that, hey, you're going to love this little coffee shop. It's great. And just know that every time you're in there, you're going to see somebody that you may not know, but they know who you are.
Yes. Yes.
That's just the way this town is. They are going to know you're one of the new coaches' wives. And, which is a great thing when you go, to the local dress shop and they recognize, oh, wait, you're one of the new coaches' wives. Well, let me show you the orange and blue stuff we have. I'm like, no, it doesn't have a Target.
Right.
It has, a super Walmart, which is great, and some other great little local things that you will not even miss the big stuff anymore. And I try to do that. I try to get them together enough to where they know they can rely on each other. And it's gotten harder since I've had one gone, but I thankfully have had some that have been here long enough that kind of have stepped in and filled those shoes, which I appreciate so much. But it's just like anywhere, a big school, small school, your coaches' wives that's your community, that's your people,
It is. They understand it and they get it and they know that you need help.
Absolutely.
You need help getting people to all the practices sometimes.
Like, ask me to babysit. I will gladly babysit because you don't know anybody else here.
You don't know anybody.
Trust anybody. So I am happy to keep babies all the time.
Yes, for sure. Okay, you talked about it just a little bit, but I think some of the toughest things that people don't talk about, sometimes you're forced to make decisions in this industry where you lose a job. And sometimes you're faced with things where you're like, well, we could go over here. What's been the process? You've had so much success. You mentioned it. Coach Simpson has had opportunities to leave. How do you navigate that?
Yeah, he's had multiple opportunities, and every time he obviously prays about it, and then it always goes back to our family. Mm-hmm. And he's like, that would not be the best thing for our family right now. It would not be the best thing for our kids to move and maybe to go start over at a new school. And it's obviously not the right thing to do. And I'm so appreciative of him for being so prayerful about things that I know he's not going to make the wrong decision because I know he's being led the right way. So I'm thankful for it. There's been times I'm like, are you sure? It's a really good job. And he's like, it's the right time. So I'm just trusting trust the process, right? That's what Coach Saban always said, trust the process.
Okay. How do you keep your husband and your kids encouraged? Not every day is the day you're sitting there reading your son is in the Heisman watch.
Yeah.
But I have to ask you first, when did you find out he was in the Heisman watch?
I got a text. Was it over the week? I got a text and I was like, wow, that I have always thought he could win the Heisman, but to see it actually be on paper, I'm like, really? That's just, it brings tears to my eyes. Everything does. So I cry all the time. I can't believe it. Honestly, I can, because I know what he's capable of, but to see it actually happen, or to hear his name being said, to hear his name on Get Up or SEC Now, I'm like, what in the world? That's my kid they're talking about.
Oh my goodness. And I love that your group chat keeps everybody humble in your family. That's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh, my daughter's the queen of keeping everybody humble. She keeps her brothers very humble. That's a good thing.
At what point did you move from coach's wife to now you're like, oh, that's Ty's mom. Was that like?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm Ty's mom. Oh, that probably really started more in high school. It was like, wait, are you Ty Simpson's mom? And we would go on visits, and it was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I am. Yeah.
I know. It's funny. It's about that age where everybody's like, yeah, I'm like, well, I do things too, but that's okay. That's all right. No, you're proud of that. Okay. How do you maintain balance? You're driving back. I guess you're driving to Tuscaloosa a lot.
Yeah.
How do you stay steady? What are some things? Do you go walking? Are you
Do actually I work out. I try to do a HIIT class or something 2 to 3 days a week. And then I'm also a Rock Steady Boxing assistant coach, which is for Parkinson's patients. And so my mother has Parkinson's, and then my best friend has Parkinson's. Wow. And so my mother's been in a Rock Steady class in Nashville for 10 years. And watching the difference in her and how much exercise helps with that. We have a local class here, and I immediately said, okay, I want to help. I want to help. Aside from, just I want to help people anyway. And my best friend has Parkinson's, and we're only 51. That's a lot to deal with, as a younger person. And so anyway, I got certified, and I love it. It's a blessing. So between my exercise class and working out with them it's a blessing every week. I love it. I love it.
All right. What's a day in a life for you on game day? And give me a home game, UT Martin, and a home game for Alabama.
So, well, it usually starts on Friday night because I watch my youngest one on Friday. So that usually starts around
playing.
He's playing high school football.
Okay.
So
What position is he?
He's a quarterback.
He's another quarterback.
So I start Friday nights around 5. We tailgate and have a high school game. And then depending on where Bama is, I will leave either that night after the game, depending on how I'm going to get there, or I'll leave early the next morning. My husband usually leaves. He will watch the game on Friday night, and then he will usually if he's at home, then he's home, thankfully. Or if he's away, he'll usually fly to wherever he's at. But he makes it a point to not miss the Friday night game if he doesn't have to. But so for example, this weekend, let's see, Graham plays at home. Jason plays at home. So we've got 2 home games, which is great. But, and then Bama is in Columbia, Missouri. So that's about 5:15 from here. Mm-hmm. So my plan is to be out of here no later than 4 a.m. Saturday. I can be straight to the stadium in time for warm-ups and be able to watch. And then we'll see how we feel, but I'm pretty certain I'll be able to drive home. So, and then head home after that.
Okay. Does Emma go with you?
Yes, Emma usually goes with me. Her boyfriend Graham goes. This week she is going to stay back with her dad because it's homecoming. So Graham is going, and my nephew's going, and I have another friend that's going to go with me. So I will have some help. But yeah,
does Emma go to UT Martin?
She does. Okay. Awesome. She does. Yeah.
So you're about to go through the recruiting process again with your son.
Yes, actually, we the off weekend, Bama's off weekend. I was like, oh, great! I can, take the weekend and want to chill a little bit. UTM was at home, and he just looked at me and was like, Mom, I really want to take a visit to Ole Miss. They've been calling me. I really want to go to a game, and I was like, yeah, okay,
it's your turn.
So I have already been to an Ole Miss game this year too. So it's been fun.
Okay. I won't make you comment on that, but his prospects look pretty good as well.
Yeah. He's got a few offers he's excited about. So
incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, what a neat thing that your family is facing. Don't you wish you could just pause time right now? Being a coach's wife for this many years, this is like a section.
Yes.
You're just trying to soak in because it goes so fast because you've seen it with 4 years with players or 4 to 5 years with players. It gives you a unique perspective of how quick it is.
It's just a season, so I might be driving tons and tons and tons of miles, and in the chiropractor every week. It's okay. It's a season. It is a season of life, and I will never forget this season. So
it'll be precious to
Yeah.
remember back on as well. Okay. How do you block out negativity on social media? There are mean people out there. Have you taught your kids to just let it go? It's easier said than done.
It is. It is.
Like, oh, don't listen to that. Hold on. Let me see what they're saying.
Yeah.
Really?
No, I'm actually better at it than my husband, but so Ty does not have his social media. That has been turned over to his agent, so he does not have it. So thankfully, he has not seen it, any of the negativity, which is a good thing. And then I do my best to stay off of anything that's negative, or really, I try not to look at a lot of social media at all. I personally do. I have social media and I do post things for my own personal self. I tell my kids that's the only scrapbook they're ever going to have. So, you can look at my social media, and keep my memories. But other than that, I really, through prayer and Lord help me, I just pray, okay, I'm not going to look at this. And I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And then my husband's really good about reminding me everybody has an opinion, and those people are fans, and you know what, we wouldn't have jobs if we didn't have fans, so let's just leave it at that. And so I just try and remind myself of that. Sometimes I do want to scream and go, there's a few things I'd like to say. Do you really think that they are trying to lose a ball game or play bad? Do you think that's what they're trying to do? Because paychecks depend on this. We're not trying to do that. And then I want to say, you do realize they are 18 to 22 years old. They're not even cerebrally mature yet. And you really think that you could do better at what they're doing? But I don't say any of that because, we are all human.
Yes, we are. It's hard. Okay. How do you guys try to reach out to the players on your staff? I know you're probably in a tough season in terms of having to split your time. This is the part of the program of my life where I kind of I didn't even think about it. When I was a young coach's wife, it was, I could be at everything and do everything.
Yeah.
And now I've got one playing travel softball and I'm like, well, there's not even times I can go to the game. And that was a weird feeling for me, not to be there supportive, talking to a donor or whatever it is. And now I'm like, well, this is an important season if she needs her mom there. So how do you maintain that connection with players and service your family like that?
And that started way before I had one in college playing, because like you said, whether it's travel ball or middle school ball, rec ball, whatever they're doing, it could be at the same time as practice, or they have a playoff game that's the same time as the regular game. And I can remember just feeling so guilty because I'm not there for my husband. I'm not there for his team and his players. And, then I realized they don't need me just on game day or anything like that. There's other ways I can support them. So I'm a really big presence during camp. And I help organize different meals for them in camp and make sure I'm there every night. I try to make sure that, if they need a little pick me up, I bring cookies, leave them just little something, and stop by during the week, or watch practice if possible, just something so they know that, I'm still here. I promise. I'm watching on my phone,
Yeah. So last question for you. What's the most rewarding part to you about being a coach's wife?
Oh gosh. Out of all of these years, so I love to see former players when they come back. It's going to make me cry, but I love when they come back and they're married or they've got kids and they come back and they're just proud and telling their kids about where they, played and, talking about their different memories. I love to see that, and just to see them grow into the men that we, all knew that they could be. That's the most rewarding thing about coaching, which is, gotten more difficult as the transfer portal has come into play, because you may not have them 4 years like you used to, but even to have them, just for one. We have senior Sunday here during camp. That's how camp ends, and all the seniors come here for dinner. And it's just a fun day just to celebrate them and talk about the goals they have. And this year it was really strange because I think maybe there were 3, maybe 4 seniors that had been here prior. The rest were all new.
Wow.
Because we had, and I was like, well, I know this is your first time here, and I know this is the first time I've met you, but I'm so happy you're here. And that was weird.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter, just they were like, we're just excited to be here, and thank you for having us. And, you made our favorite things. And it's just to see them come back and see them grow up. It's awesome. It's awesome.
It's a beautiful thing. Okay. Rapid fire. Are you ready?
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah.
This will be interesting. Who's the most famous person in your phone?
There's a lot of coaches in my phone. There's a lot of coaches from recruiting. So
Yes.
it would be a coach. There's probably a couple of unnamed. I won't name other people that aren't coaches that are pretty big that I've met along the way and all through recruiting with Ty. But yeah, there's some.
You're not gonna give me one name?
Some big coaches. There's everybody that recruited Ty is pretty much my phone, except Coach Saban. He does not give out his number.
Oh.
No, nobody has his number. You get a call from a number to talk to him. But yeah, I may or may not have, some big coaches.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh. My husband's in there going, what about Jim Harbaugh? He is a fun one.
That's awesome.
He's a fun one. Yeah. That's probably the most fun one that we have.
Okay. What's one item on your bucket list that you have checked off and one left to check off?
Well, we've been to Hawaii. That was on a bucket list. So that was we played there. That was super fun. Let's see, but oh gosh, and the Rose Bowl, that was on a bucket list. We've been there, but man, I don't know. Just let's see, still on the list. We've been to an SEC championship. See him play in one. That's on a list. The national championships on the list. Yeah. That would probably be it right now. Yeah.
These are pretty obtainable. Okay. The last 3 people you have texted.
Oh gosh. Let's see. My mom every morning. Our family group that's been going off all morning. Yeah. And Jason. Yeah. Those are the last 3.
What's the funniest account you follow on Instagram?
Oh, so I don't know if this is really an account, but my kids think I'm so dumb. I guess, when you watch a reel and you like a reel and then you constantly get more reels.
Yeah.
This is so dumb. This is so dumb. I'm obsessed with baby Theo Vaughn. It's the dumbest thing. But Theo Vaughn makes me laugh anyway. And to see that little baby saying the things that he says it's so dumb, but it makes me laugh. So my kids, they're just constantly making fun of me because when they know when I'm laughing, it's because I'm watching a baby Theo Vaughn right now. Yeah. It's sad.
What about your life impresses your kids the most?
I think they would tell you probably the fact that I do everything, which, when you're a coach's wife, you have to, because they're not home very much. So I'm the momager in every aspect. I'm the home maintainer. And if I can't fix it, it's very rare. So I can pretty much fix everything. But if I can't, I can make a call and get it done pretty easily. I'm just the momager of everything. My daughter's always like, Mom, how did you know? I'm like, yes, you just got to learn. That's how it works. So I would think that's probably what they would tell you, from fixing things around the house to cooking dinner to scheduling everything we have going. I think that impresses them the older they get. I think they realize.
What's your go-to meal to cook?
I like to grill because it's easy. So usually if I don't stop, shout out to Mark's Mart in Tuscaloosa, Northport. If I don't stop at Mark's Mart and bring home a cooler full of meat, they get pretty upset. So I as long as I'm grilling, they're usually pretty happy and they show up for dinner.
There you go. Okay. Did your boys or do their boys play baseball? No ties in football, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So you've heard a lot of walk-up songs in your life. What would be your walk-up song?
Yeah. Well, we've had this conversation 100 times in our house. You probably will too, as your kids are older. It's always, what's your walk-up song? What's your walk-up song? So I've always said Awesome God by the R Swift version. That would absolutely. But at the same time, and probably, Thunderstruck, I could have some Thunderstruck. That has a whole new meaning to me now that I have for two reasons. I have one that runs out to it on Saturdays, and so it brings a little tear to my eye. And then I watched the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader documentary, and let me just tell you, girls, they're awesome. Those girls are some devoted girls, and watching that Thunderstruck dance, I'm like, it's impressive. So it'd be one of those two. I'd probably still stick with Awesome God so people could hear it, but Thunderstruck's a close second.
I love you so much. This is awesome. Thank you, Julie, for all your insight. This has been a blast.
Yes, I've enjoyed it so much.
This podcast is brought to you by Ruler of Hope. Ruler of Hope is a nonprofit that supports medically fragile children. If you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation, you can use Venmo at Ruler-Hope or online at rulerofhope.org.
For a replay of this episode or previous episodes, visit coacheswifelife.org and follow us on social media at Coaches Wife Life.